From RTV6 Sports, live at Palomino Restaurant downtown, this is Horseplay.
Yeah, lunch, anyone? Palomino downtown is the place to be. La paella, how about some chicken under a brick? Or even the very tasty chop salad. I'm hungry just looking at it. Good food and football talk here on RTV6 Horseplay. And good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Dave Furst, Jim Sorgi, former Colts backup quarterback. He really should have been a starter. This whole 18 Peyton Manning thing, I think it was a passing fad. I'm surprised it kind of played out the way it did. But anyway, welcome, everybody, to week 6 of Horseplay here on the 80channel.com, RTV6 app as well. Great to see you.
Good to see you as always.
Nice long weekend off.
It was so nice.
Wasn't it nice?
Yeah, it really was. I mean, it just makes you want to get to that bye week, and have that whole week.
Because we can do this again here in a couple of weeks, right?
Yes.
Very nice. What'd you do over the weekend?
I kind of hung out. I watched some football, hung out with the kids and the wife. I did a little hunting. I just
You reintroduce yourself to the kids and the wife
on
the
did.
weekend?
I said, hi, my name is Jim. I should be around more often, but,
I know the feeling. Great to see everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This afternoon we've got Brad Brown and parts unknown. Right now he'll be Skyping in. We never know where he's going to be. Mike Chappell is at the Colts complex. We're going to hook up with Mike here in just a second. The players and Chuck Pagano talked early today, so it's going to be interesting to see what they were talking about after a big, long weekend. Back at it with the Cincinnati Bengals coming up this Sunday. And legendary sportscaster, Cincinnati sportscaster Ken Brew will join us here in just a bit as well, so we get the Bengals perspective after a tie yesterday.
A tie.
They tied the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, and I heard the bus talk about it.
What is this, the 40s? We're still tying? Ties are okay in the NFL?
We should just play out the games. Just play out the games, get a winner.
Yes, exactly.
I mean, it affects seeding. It affects how tiebreakers at the end of the year for playoffs. I don't like it. I don't like a tie. You feel so unfulfilled after a tie. Watching that game, I was so unfulfilled watching the Carolina-Cincinnati.
And you really had no stake in the game, but you felt unfulfilled.
Unfulfilled.
That's how bad ties are in the NFL. You feel unfulfilled, and you really have no allegiance to either side.
No allegiance. I was watching Cincinnati get a feeling how they look coming into next week.
I'm with you on this.
Then it's a good game. It goes into overtime. Perfect. I get to see the whole game.
Right.
And then tie. Mike Nugent just totally left it on the table.
Outside of the fact you had to watch the Bears game after that.
I know.
And then because that was delayed anyway. We're just griping here on
they put the Bears Atlanta on over Dallas and Seattle. I'm going to have to get that.
Well, there's always that argument too.
I'm going to have to get the ticket.
So basically you had a nice long weekend and you did nothing but complain. Is that what we're getting
Unfulfilled Sunday is what I had.
Colts Except for seeing the wife and the kids.
Exactly.
Unfulfilled. We know Mike Chappell is going to fulfill every need we have here when it comes to what's going on at the Colts complex today. Mike Chappell joins us on the phone lines. Okay, so the players talked early. Chuck Pagano just wrapped up his news conference. Chappell, what was said out there today?
They're getting pretty healthy. Newhart practiced today. They think Art Jones is going to practice maybe Thursday. He's not played for quite a while. They need him back. And Hugh Thornton and Darius Butler, both who missed that Houston game with injuries, did not practice, so they're probably going to practice Wednesday. So they're really getting about as healthy as you can be, which is good news because you figure you won 4 in a row with really a depleted offensive line and without Art Jones in the middle of your defense. So they're feeling pretty good about themselves right now from a health standpoint.
I tell you what, it's interesting.
And I'm really sorry that Jim was unfulfilled this weekend.
Were you fulfilled?
I had hoped for a better weekend.
Chap, how was your weekend? More importantly,
I got 2 of my properties lawns cut on Saturday, so anything happened, that was gravy. So I had a very fulfilled weekend.
The Colts are getting healthy, and Chap was able to mow the lawn. It's a good weekend.
Yeah, Chap, I got a question. I got a question for you. Was anybody talking about Cincinnati, the game yesterday with the tie, and then what they expect coming forward? I mean, Cincinnati. I mean, if you could get a team at the right time, this is kind of like the right time to get Cincinnati. AJ Green out with that toe. Giovanni Bernard, had the little shoulder injury second half of yesterday's game, missed some time in the second half. They end up getting a tie.
And their kickers struggling big time. So
on the brink of being tossed from Cincinnati.
And then they Vanderjagt in overtime. Stoink.
Yeah, and then the week before they get trounced by the Patriots. I mean, how are feeling pretty good about getting Cincinnati right now? I'm sure the guys are.
Yeah, if you look at Cincinnati, it's hard to know what you're looking at. There's not great numbers anywhere. and they got up to the good start. But look, if I'm not mistaken, they won 2 games at home against, was it Atlanta, which is a mystery team, and Tennessee, which is not a very good team. So I'm not sure what Cincinnati is. And not having your quality receiver and your running back might be banged up. I don't know what we're going to see from Cincinnati. Again, we're going to see a very fresh Colts team, and I like the way they're playing right now. So I just don't know what to make of Cincinnati. I thought they were like an elite team, and then they go up to New England and just kind of are undressed, which was extremely disappointing, I'm sure, for all the Cincinnati people. But this is what we thought was going to be really a tough stretch for the Colts. It's shaping up. If they take care of business, it should be a very beneficial stretch. So but it starts with Cincy, and I like the way things shape up because, like you said, there's a lot of question marks in the jungle right now.
It's funny. A couple of weeks ago, we were all thinking, okay, coming off the Jaguars and the Titans games, we didn't quite sure what the Colts had. We're like, okay, you beat the teams you're supposed to beat.
Right.
Then let's find out what really happens against teams like Baltimore, Houston, and now Cincinnati. And now you're thinking, if you're a Colts fan, you got to feel really good about where this team is right now, right, Chad?
I think so. Again, and not just who they've beaten. Again, we can joke at Tennessee and Jacksonville all we want, but again, Houston and Baltimore. I mean, Baltimore, they've had their moments where they played really, really well. Houston at home, it's a tough place to play, and you go out there and really smack them around early on. So, I like the way they're playing. They need to finish better. They've left a couple of games hanging in the balance at the end, but when you just look at the way they're doing things, maybe Jim can talk about the last 3 games. The defense, the third down conversion is like 3 for 20, 26, 27, 28, whatever it is. 1 third down conversion on each of the last 3 games. That's the money down. When your defense is winning that down, you're going to have great success, and that's what the Colts defense is having right now.
I'll tell you what, let's talk about what we describe as the lead here, and let's talk about the AFC South standings, because this is what it all boils down to after 6 weeks here in the National Football League. The Colts now 4-2. They're 3-0 the division. They mop up their first round through the AFC South. Houston now a game back. Tennessee, we were talking about Tennessee and Jacksonville. Tennessee, boy, I was saddened by the fact that this game wasn't available on local TV yesterday. Tennessee and the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday. Titans beat the Shags 16-14, so the Jags are still winless at 0-6. But I tell you what, you do what you're supposed to do against some of these teams, and it wasn't that long ago, chap, when we were talking about the AFC South being one of the elite divisions in the NFL, and now, it's a division where you have some opportunities to get healthy, if you will.
We must have lost him.
I think we lost Mike, Chad.
Yeah, but you're exactly right in what you said, and the fact that we got 2 of the two road division games out of the way,
right,
against Jacksonville and Houston is huge, because then the next time we play them, we'll obviously be back at Lucas Oil Stadium. So, and you're right, the AFC South is down. Houston is a good team. J.J. Watt is all he's cracked up to be. I mean, look at his game. He had 7 tackles, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, 4 quarterback hits, 3 passes defense, 1 fumble recovery for a touchdown. I mean, that's a monster game.
I don't know how you guys approached it on the radio broadcast. Mike Chappell once again joins us on the phone lines as well. He's live from the Colts complex as the players and Coach Chuck Pagano spoke just moments ago. But J.J. Watt on the TV broadcast, they were just hyping the guy up. I'm pretty sure the guy was walking on water at one point on the TV broadcast. But then all of a sudden he comes back and has a tremendous game, and I'm thinking, you know what, he was worth all that hype.
He really is. I've seen a lot of guys play, but he can do it in all facets of the game. If he can't get to the quarterback, he gets his hands up. He knocks balls down. He's so opportunistic, catching interceptions, running back for a touchdown, getting a scrum in the pile on a fumble and ripping that ball out, but the wherewithal to pick it up and run it back for a touchdown. He was so close so many other plays in that Colts game, but I thought we did an okay job against him. He did get a lot of quarterback hits. He had 16 going into that game, which led the NFL. He gets 4 more against us, so he's got 20 on the season. But how tough it is if he's not having success at one position, you can move him along the defensive line. He can line up at defensive tackle, defensive end. He can line up against your tackles outside. He can line up inside and kind of work the middle against your young guys. He's just so tough to defend against.
Here's the thing, chap. When the Texans, if and when they get Jadeveon Clowney back, boy, look out. That defense is going to be tremendous.
that's the one thing that I heard coming out of the Houston game over the weekend, that all of a sudden J.J. Watt is a serious MVP candidate.
Right.
And we'll see. One thing, I've always taken the approach that if your team doesn't make the playoffs, I don't know how you win. Now, defensive player of the year, sure, but if your team doesn't make the playoffs, and we'll see how this thing plays with Houston, I'm not sure how you can be an MVP because your team's not in the playoffs. So we'll see how that goes. But what J.J. Watt reminds me of is that great running back who you stop eight out of 10 plays or 15 out of 20 plays, and in those 5 plays he just gouges you.
Right.
And he makes plays that make a difference. He almost had another interception in that game.
Yeah.
That he knocked out. So great player, but I tell you, if it comes down to push or shove, I want a difference-making quarterback more than I want a difference-making defensive end.
We saw the Colts record where they are right now in the AFC South, and I tweeted this out after the game Thursday night. I don't see this team, you guys chime in on this, I don't see this team, when I say this team, the Colts, I don't see them giving up first place in the AFC South the rest of the season. Again, they go through 3-0, but what's important is 2 of them are on the road. So I thought all along that what you needed to do to have a good season is go 5-1 in the division. But I had them splitting with Houston and losing down there. Well, they got that taken care of. So now you really it needs to be 6-0, and you go 6-0 in your division. You're looking at a 10-11 win season, just by taking care of business elsewhere. So it's just huge. And yes, it's a soft division. It is, and it's going to be that way until Tennessee and Jacksonville get their quarterback situation, and even Houston gets their quarterback settled. But you just can't blame them. You play who you play. And what you do, you take care of business that they're doing. I like their situation moving forward. They position themselves pretty nice for the rest of the season. Even more impressive, Jim, because this was on a short week. Arian Foster's down there running his mouth, talking about how disappointing Thursday nights are and how annoying they are to play and everything. And I don't. Did any of that creep in throughout the locker room? Because you hear your star running back talking about how, unhappy he is. Let's call it that, to play on Thursday nights. And it seemed like the team, especially the first quarter, didn't even show up against the Colts.
Yeah, but I don't think it was any of that. Arian Foster came out and had a really nice game, had over 100 yards. And
eventually,
and a touchdown, eventually. But the fact that they were a team that struggled at the beginning of games up until our game. I mean, they really struggled. They get behind early, and then they come back later in the game. They did the exact same against us. They got down 20-0, and then they make it a ball game. They're not a great team offensively. They have great individual players, but they're not a great team offensively or defensively. Defensively, they give up yards up and down the field. Yeah. They were just really good at getting takeaways, especially in the red zone, and not giving up points to the opposing offense. I mean, they were giving up 17 points a game, and we ring 24 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, and if we don't do that, they probably come back and win that ball game.
If there's another quarter, yeah,
exactly.
absolutely.
I mean, they had the momentum. They were on fire. Their defense gives up yards, not a whole lot of points. Their offense doesn't really score a lot of points, but they hadn't hurt themselves going into our game. Andre Johnson hadn't had a really big year. He had a really kind of a big game against us, almost 100 yards. DeAndre Hopkins, the game I expected to have a good game against us. He didn't even show up.
Right.
But then Arian Foster had a good game. But then it comes down to turnovers. I mean, they had 2 big turnovers at the end of the game that allowed us to win.
Chap, we're going to cut you loose. What can we read later on this afternoon at theindychannel.com?
I think we're going to write T.Y. Hilton had the big game, and he's one of the most difficult interviews because he just doesn't say a lot. So we're going to let everybody else talk about him. The best quote we had was from Chuck Pagano. He said, "I think the guy is so small that he's invisible." He said, "I don't think you can see him." So T.Y. Hilton's a great game breaker to have for Andrew Luck.
He might be invisible on the field, but when you take a look at the stat sheet, you can't miss the guy.
Yeah, he's huge.
Unbelievable.
223 yards Thursday night. Thanks a lot, chap. We'll read you later this afternoon at theindychannel.com. Thanks, buddy. Let's go inside the numbers, shall we? We talked about the Houston Texans as a team. The Colts have had their number over the years, surprisingly, especially out of the gate when it looked like the Texans were going to have some decent runs. Early part in their franchise, we'll look at them. They're 21-4 all time against the Texans. 10 straight wins on Thursday night. This is the longest active streak in the NFL. New England has won 3 straight. San Francisco, San Diego, Baltimore, Seattle, they've all won 2 straight, 10 straight. That is an amazing number, isn't it, on Thursday night? How about the 24-point first quarter, most for the club in 56 years? And remember, Houston had not allowed a first quarter point this season, and the Colts rack up 24 in the first quarter. And for the third consecutive game, this is tremendous as well. The Colts allow just one third down conversion. We haven't talked about the defense yet. Just one third down conversion, 3 straight games. That is a staggering statistic.
It's winning on the money down. And I'll tell you, it's not just doing a great job on third down. What they've been doing is winning first and second down, putting those offenses in long yardage situations. That's what you want to do. You play first and second down to get to third down. And if you stop them on first and second down, you give them a 3rd and 7 plus, the odds of picking up that third down are tremendously small percentage for the offense. And that's what we've been doing, and we've been doing a great job of it. And teams just haven't been able to sustain drives. And it's given our offense extra possessions. The onside kicks are giving our offense extra possessions. We're eating up the time of possession. I think we got like 7-8 minutes more time possession per game than the other team. And when you do that, the other team's offense has to be perfect in order to beat you. And they haven't been.
How do you explain 10 straight wins on Thursday night? And we talked about Foster, complaining, griping and moaning about playing on these Thursday nights after a quick turnaround and playing on Sunday. But the Colts, and this goes back to when you were playing with Tony Dungy, Jim Caldwell, the Colts have always been able to put that angst aside, see, the job at hand, fight through it, fight through the soreness, the aches, the pains and everything, and still come out and have a stellar performance on these Thursday nights.
Well, the teams I was on, we looked at it as beneficial, not a burden. It was beneficial to play on Thursday night because you get that win. You're feeling great for
you got 10 days off, right? Yeah,
to get healthy.
Not off, but you know what I'm saying,
right?
Yeah.
And get ready for the next team. So we just turned around. We put whatever game we played the week before to bed early. We get in there. We practice hard for 3 days. We travel. If we don't travel, most of the time we travel.
Right.
But we knew that if we took care of business,
they've all been on the road, haven't they?
I think one was not, but we took care of business, and we knew when we took care of business that we would feel that much better coming home and getting healthy and taking that weekend off and watching games and just kind of normalizing yourself. Football players, they get so wrapped up in the season that the bye week and that long time off after a Thursday game, they take that time to normalize themselves.
Right.
You spend a weekend with the family. You have family dinners,
Well, you lay on the couch,
you
don't
get
you?
away.
I mean, you're just kind of...
Yeah, you got to get away. And it kind of
decompress.
refuels that tank. And we knew that, and we were like, oh, great, a Thursday game. That means we have Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and then the next week to prepare. And
see, that's interesting. Your take is much different than a lot of teams take, including Foster down in Houston.
Yeah, and that's the way we looked at it as a team. I mean, we knew it was going to be hard. That 4 days getting ready for that game, and that game was going to be a tough game. And bumps and bruises are going to not really be healed up. But if we go out there and play a really good game and get a win, man, what a great opportunity to get healthy and get right from then on out.
Let's talk about the front seven for the Colts. We talked about third down. Again, third straight game that the opposing team completes just gets a third down conversion. Where does that go to? I mean, you're playing without Mathis. Thursday night, you're playing without Landry. You're playing without Darius Butler. Guys are stepping up. Yeah. It's that next man up theory, I know. But, I mean, they're getting pressure out there.
There's certain guys that are playing really well. And
who are those guys?
Well, Bjorn Werner's playing really well the last couple games.
Yeah.
He's getting pressure on the quarterback, but he's making them rush things. Eric Walden is all over the field. He's on the quarterback, and he's making plays. But the two guys inside, Corey Redding and Ricky Jean-Francois, I mean, their knowledge of the game is helping them. I mean, they're getting pressure on the quarterback, but they're tackling guys in the run game. Josh Chapman had a couple great tackles in the backfield. Reading screens and getting out there on screens and making those tackles. They're manipulating the game, and they're getting off the field and getting to rest. So when they get back on the field, they're at 100% and they're going full throttle. And when you can do that, they're not looking for excuses. There's a lot of excuses. Robert Mathis is suspended.
There's a ton of excuses out there.
Art Jones hurt. Jarrell Freeman's been hurt. I mean, there's a ton of excuses to go out there and lay an egg and not play well.
Yeah.
They're using those excuses to say, it's my time to really play well and step up, and they're doing it.
And here's the thing. You talk about veteran leadership, Redding, RJF, Ricky Jean-Francois. Then you've got Arthur Jones, who I thought was a tremendous pickup in the offseason.
And was playing really well.
And was playing really well before he got hurt. I think he'll play well once again
I
because
agree.
the guy is so smart and analytical about things.
And sometimes an injury can get you fresh, too. I mean, you're not banging your body. You got to heal up the injured part of the body, but you're not out there banging during games and stuff.
Sometimes it helps to kind of sit things out a little bit.
Exactly. You see things from a different perspective.
Speaking of seeing things from a different side, let's Skype, shall we? Brad Brown is standing by At parts unknown. Wait a minute, I think that's his apartment again. I was expecting something more exotic, but
Bagel?
anyway, that's fine. You're eating though, enjoying your lunch.
Brunch, actually. I didn't get out of bed till noon, so this is the advantage of not working on a Monday.
Wow. See,
Look at
Jim, remember those single days? Remember those single days when we woke up at like noon?
Then you go to bed at 4.
Go to bed at 4 a.m. Probably watching Major League Baseball last night in the Cardinals series. So, yeah, that's tough living there.
What a life.
No.
Tough living. What did you make of the weekend? And certainly the Colts play Thursday night. Here they are sitting atop the AFC South, my man.
Really impressive. That first quarter was as good as anything we've seen in a long time. And I think going back to a couple things you guys have touched on, listening earlier on, Houston's going to have a hard time competing at a high level with Ryan Fitzpatrick, a quarterback. He's good, but he's not by any means, I don't even think, a top 10. They're going to go as far as that defense and Watt can take them. And I agree with the same statement you made, Dave, about the AFC South Division lead. I think it's the Colts to win or lose, essentially, at this point. Just kind of take care of things, and this is going to shape up to be a 10 or 11 win season. Even the Red Zone channel wouldn't touch that Titans-Jaguars game yesterday. I don't remember that thing popping up on there anywhere.
Was that game
So
even
bad.
on TV? Are we sure a network actually televised that game?
I don't think so. I think it was one of the old, teletype broadcast back from the old AP days, with one guy in a fedora and a finger in his ear talking into a microphone. And you could pick it up in the two cities, and that was it. But I think it's a team on a roll right now, and I think that they got those first couple games of the season out of their system, and now the Colts are starting to kind of find the flow that we thought they might, and like you guys talked about, they're getting healthy. Chap mentioned that those guys are starting to get healthy, and that it's only going to add to the mix.
What do you think of their moving forward, the next 3 games leading into the bye week? How are things in your mind shaping up for the Colts?
I think it's an interesting schedule. You guys talk about the Bengals. The Bengals, that was all sorts of strange yesterday. That Bengals-Panthers game, to watch that go back and forth. It's a rough day when you put up 513 yards, 37 points, and the best you come out with is a tie on that. So that team's frustrated. They're just all over the board right now. The Steelers have been up and down to try and figure them out. They have played very well, and they've struggled a lot. So I don't have any idea what kind of team you're going to get out of that. You got to go to Pittsburgh to play that game. That's always tough, and that remains to be seen. And then the Monday night game, the Giants last night, was just brutal. That was brutal to watch the Giants. The Victor Cruz injury is horrible for that team, and Eli is having some struggles. And I think that they still got a couple weeks before the Colts figure that out, but that could be some prime picking out there on a Monday night to go in, kind of slide in there, get one, just take care of it, and get out of there, and not have to have a big mess out of it.
I tell you, the Giants. I mean, even when you go back to the preseason game here at Lucas Oil Stadium, I'm watching the Giants. I'm thinking, what team is this? They don't have an identity at all, and that has certainly extended now to the regular season. Here we are, week 7 or week 6 last night. I'm watching them play. I'm like, things haven't changed that much.
There was a couple weeks in there where they played well. They beat Houston at home 30-17, but I mean,
that turned out to be a fluke, I think, at this point.
Well, yeah. Then you look at the game last night. I mean, Eli was underdressed the entire game, 8 sacks.
Right.
The offensive line couldn't block anybody. I mean, Philadelphia is a tough team, but we were able to handle Philadelphia for most of the game until last 5 minutes of the third quarter, last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. So it's one of those things where Victor Cruz injury, Odell Beckham Jr., what can he provide in just playing his second game last night? So I like the way it stacks up. Pittsburgh, I mean, they get beat by Tampa Bay, and then they get blown out yesterday by the Cleveland Browns. Yeah. So if we can handle Cincinnati, and like I said, I think we're getting them at the right time, and then Pittsburgh on the road, and then the Giants on the road, 7-2 going into the bye week. Watch out.
Brad, stand by. We're talking about quarterbacks. I want to show everybody this Monday afternoon quarterback Andrew Luck right now. And Jim, look at these numbers. This is rankings in the NFL right now. First in passing yards, nearly 2,000 already. First in yards per game, 331. First in attempts and completions. First in touchdown passes with 17. And these are Peyton-like numbers.
And we're not even halfway through the season.
And we're not halfway through the season. This is only his 3rd season in the NFL.
Well, see what happened when you get a running game to complement a passing game?
Exactly.
That's exactly what can happen. You start getting those looks where you can throw the ball. You start playing that cat and mouse game of doing things on different downs than expected, throwing on running downs, passing running on throwing downs, and you keep the defense on their toes, and then those kind of numbers kind of evail. They present themselves.
And more so than you have a running game, but other teams are having to respect the run game.
Right.
So the play action is all of a sudden working. So this could be one heck of a year for number 12, the other number 12, Brad Brown, as this thing moves forward,
Yeah, it's a heck of a year for our number 12 too. Jimmy's with us on Mondays. We'll take him. It's all good.
He's our MVP. I know that. Speaking of which, I mean, is Luck in the MVP discussion?
Oh, most definitely.
That's my point. Yeah, why is Andrew Luck not in the MVP conversation at this point? You can go on and on. J.J. Watt, great player. That's fine. Hear a lot about Phillip Rivers at this point. He's doing some good things out there with San Diego. But look at the numbers. Look at the record. Look at what this team's doing. And Luck's got to be in the running at least through these first 6 weeks of the season.
Yeah, and he's in the running because of his team. I mean, we talked about the numbers and the running game helping him, but the time of possession, the defense getting him the ball back on third down, the onside kicks, them staying on the field. That's why his numbers are so huge. Right. And we're it's not like we have to throw every down to get this done. I mean, he's doing it in the realm of the game, and that's what's important because we're playing as a complete team.
Can we just chalk up an onside kick for Pat McAfee every game?
I would love that.
Can we just go ahead and do that?
He's so good at it.
Is that not the most entertaining, 10 seconds of the game every time, too?
I watch the game now when we kick the ball off and when we punt, just because of Pat McAfee.
Exactly.
So he's making punts and kickoffs that much more exciting.
All right, Brad, what's the rest of your afternoon entail?
Very little. I'm going to get to the gym at some point. Does that count for something? Says the guy who's eating bacon right now.
I was going to say. Nice.
Healthy.
Maybe
Good stuff. Again, the single life, Brad Brown, everybody, Skyping in from parts unknown, which is probably his apartment there. Anyway.
Bye, Brad.
Nice job, Brad. Thanks a lot. Have a good afternoon. When you talk about Luck, and let's put a bow on this by talking about the offensive line briefly, and it looks like Muhort's getting healthy.
Yep.
We'll see what happens with Hugh Thornton in the right guard. But to watch all that play out Thursday, knowing those two guys were out, that was tremendous.
Yeah, and you got to feel comfortable if they are out that Lance Lewis and Joe Rice can get the job done.
Yeah.
I mean, so the depth there is phenomenal. But you get Wrights back, he can back up the tackles position. But it was never about the interior of the offensive line. I always thought we had really good interior of the offensive line. Now, Jonathan Harrison, I thought he played very well the last two games. He needs to stop making that one mistake or two mistakes a game in the snap.
I was going to ask you about that. There was still a bad exchange there.
Yes, and it led to a touchdown.
Exactly. So this is still the big conundrum out there because we don't know what the situation was with A.Q. Shipley. You've got Khaled Holmes, who apparently is healthy and not playing right now. In fact, he was not on the roster last Thursday. So how is this thing going to play out moving forward? I mean, is Harrison the guy?
I think so. I think
it looks that way.
I think they feel comfortable with him. I thought they felt comfortable with him in the training camp in the offseason.
Yeah.
It was a great undrafted pickup for the Colts. And your center doesn't have to be a first, second, third round draft pick. It can be just Saturday was an undrafted free agent that went out there and played well for so long and did it the right way. And I think Jonathan Harrison could be that guy. He's got the physical tools. He played at a big school in Florida. He just needs to get settled into the game, and I think he does. I think sometimes, there's a lot of thought process going into playing the center position, and when he starts thinking a whole lot, you might forget a snap count or mess up a mental mistake like that, and I think that's what's happening throughout the game once or twice.
We'll see what happens this week, but I think I agree with you. I would expect Jonathan Harrison to be the guy at center when the game time rolls around Sunday at 1 o'clock. Let's bring in longtime Cincinnati sportscaster, a legend in the Queen City, Ken Brew from our sister station at WCPO joins us via the phone line. Speaking of sisters, how much cliche talk of kissing a sister has gone on in the last 12 hours, Ken? Oh no, Ken, we just lost the call. All right, we're going to hook up Ken Brew once again, standing by to get the Bengals perspective on things. And I love this. I'm looking at your phone. What do you have on your phone right now?
This is
Icky Woods?
This is Yahoo Sports app. I mean, it gives me all I really need from the game's
And you've got Icky Woods on a continuous
Yeah, they run loops.
Go back to that.
I don't really understand it. They run loops. And
No. Go back to that because we're going to put this on TV. What happened? There it is. Camera 3. All right, hang on. Is it going right now? Should I get up and zoom in? It's not moving here.
Go ahead, take it over there.
We got Icky Woods, everybody. Can you? It's going to take a massive This is another one of those Barbara Walters soft lens situations here. There we go. Icky Woods, everybody. Doing the Icky Shuffle, which, by the way, he's now doing again on a commercial. Yeah, if you thought Icky Woods was gone and never to be heard from again, thank goodness for everyone he's doing commercials now. So, you got a question? Come on over. You got a question. We're standing by. Ken Brew from WCPO is going to join us here in a second. One of the chefs back there. By the way, the food smells phenomenal.
How you doing?
Thank you.
How are you doing?
Good to see you.
Nice to meet you.
Anthony, Jim.
Come on. I'm Dave. We have a microphone? I thought we had a microphone. All right. It's back behind us someplace. What's your question or comment about your Indianapolis Colts?
Well, since I'm a Cowboy fan.
Uh-oh.
It's working. Check, check, check.
Uh-oh.
Exactly.
Since you're a what?
You're feeling real good.
I'm American.
Feeling real good
I'm
right
American.
now.
I'm feeling real good. My question is, I hear a lot of NFL players talking they don't like playing on Thursday night.
Mm-hmm.
You know, do they like it since they had the few days extra off? Do they like the following week then? You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah, and we touched on that a little bit. I feel like the teams I was on and the Colts team right now, I think they like to play on Thursday night because of that fact that you just said. I think they know that if they go and handle their business, they do get those 10 days off. Not off, but 3 days off for the weekend, and then the next week to prepare for the team. Some guys look at it as a burden, and it's the guys that probably get banged down a lot. Aaron Foster talked about it, how he doesn't like it. Totally. He's getting hit throughout the game. They just played a tough Cowboys team.
Right.
He had a really good game, 157 yards, a couple touchdowns, but that Cowboys defense is going to hit you. They're going to bang in. He's a running back, offensive line, defensive line, kind of the same way. Now, they probably don't like it because they don't feel like they're healthy enough to go from a Sunday game to a Thursday game. But, they see it as more of a burden than anything else, where teams that look at it more as a benefit because
you do get that extra time off. So, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of, it hurts you to begin with, but if you get that extra time off.
It's kind of suck it up, do what you got to do for 4 days, go out there and get the win. Then after that win, man, you got a whole weekend to normalize yourself, spend some time with the family, and then a whole week to get ready for the next team and get healthy. That's the way I look at it.
So what do they do they play Thursday. Mm-hmm. What do they do then like Friday, Saturday, Sunday? Are they prepared? Are they taking some time off at that time?
Well, the coaches will stay in prepared. The players, what the Colts did is they gave the players Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, and then they'll come in today and then start to prepare again today for Cincinnati.
Do they have Tuesday off as usual then?
They will have Tuesday off as usual.
The players like a normal week then.
Yes, but the players will probably come in and get more film work in, get a lift in, and things like that. Get another treatment in because you can get a bunch of treatments in to make sure you get healthy, your rehab. Okay. But this will be treated as a normal week. But sometimes teams that they usually lose that game, they come in and watch the film on Friday and then get the weekend off. It's not so much preparing for the other team that you're going to play the next week. It's like getting healthy, getting back to normal, spending time with the family and things like that for that weekend, watching football on Saturday and Sunday and things like that. So
it seems like it's all about healthy.
It is about
being healthy.
Especially right now in the middle of the season. If you can, the way the Colts had the Thursday night game, won it, get 10 days, and then 3 weeks from now have the bye week and get a whole week off. We're hitting our times off at the right time to really give this season a run.
Right. Mm-hmm. What about real quick?
Wait. This is about you now because you're out here. You're working hard in the back. What's your name, by the way?
Anthony.
I'm Dave. How are you doing? Nice to meet you. How long have you been working here?
I've been all together probably about 8-9 years.
8-9 years. And what do we have here? Because this looks
right
phenomenal.
Here you have your paella.
We have paella right here.
Yeah, good Mediterranean dish.
Yeah.
Right here you have your chop salad.
Chop salad.
Balsamic dressing.
Oh yeah. And is this chicken under the brick?
Chicken under the brick with creamer potatoes and broccolini.
Yeah.
Very good. Dive on in, gentlemen.
What do you enjoy making here at Palomino?
Oh, that right there.
You enjoy making the paella?
I love paella. Anything, my grandmother is Italian, so anything with anything to do in the Mediterranean Sea I like. But I love fish.
This is tremendous. I don't know if the show will actually continue on. Although
I know it might be.
It is right now, and I look like I'm the host right now, everybody. Exactly.
Hey, thanks for coming by. Anytime you got a question, come on.
Excellent.
We're on here for the next half hour or so. So come on by. Great to see you.
Well,
and thank you very much too.
Well, thank you very much.
Let's go back to
Anthony. Thank you.
The phone lines. Nice job, Anthony. Thanks, man. Let's go back to the phone lines. Ken Brew. Again, one of the legendary sportscasters in Cincinnati. He works at our sister station, WCPO. And I tried this lame segue into talking about our sister station and kissing a sister. And how much has that cliche been used in the last 12 hours there in Cincinnati?
Well, I think it depends if your sister is hot. If she's hot, I think it's okay, don't you?
Oh, well, yeah, sure, man. Whatever.
Yeah, I think it's
Wait,
legal in like 38 of 40 of the 48 contiguous states. Yeah, I think it's legal.
Whatever you guys do in the Queen City is fine with me. That's all I'm saying. Hey, man.
Am I led to believe you have a chef on your show?
We do. We're live at Palomino. I know you guys do a similar show there in Cincinnati, and it is on at some crazy hour, like 7 a.m. Is this right?
Yeah. Yeah, we're on at 7 a.m. and we barely have electricity. You guys have a chef. That's strong. Are they aware of this in the home office down here?
You work at the home office, so, you know, if you don't mind, just keep a secret between ourselves. But anyway, yeah, we're live at Palomino
Okay.
downtown. It's called Horseplay.
Okay.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. So tell us about the Bengals, because, man, I thought we had Cincinnati figured out after the first couple weeks, and now these last 2 weeks we're like, maybe we're not quite sure what team you guys have in Cincinnati.
If you can run the ball, you can beat the Bengals. They've given up in the last 3 weeks 149, 220, and 147 on the ground. And for whatever reason, this team has been unable to stop even pedestrian running attacks. So I think that's where the problem lies initially on defense. You score 37 points. I don't care what team you are. If you score 37, you should win the ball game.
Right.
And they did not, obviously, yesterday.
Has anyone seen kicker Mike Nugent in the last 12 hours, Ken?
You know, I mean, it's yes, and he's kind of like a lightning rod, but he kicked 5 to beat the Ravens in game 1. He's been in the league 10 years. I just got done doing another radio hit down here about an hour ago, and I asked the question, what's better that's out there? That's what you got to ask yourself in any business, but certainly in football. What's better that's out there? I don't think there is. I think this guy's fine. He just had a horrible kick yesterday in a very high-profile situation. But again, you score 37, you shouldn't leave it in the hands of your kicker. You should win that football game.
Yeah, Ken, Jim Sorgi here. Yeah, and you're right. Scoring 37 points, 34 in regulation. You get a nice kickoff return from Adam Jones, a big touchdown run from Giovanni Bernard. Without A.J. Green with the toe, Giovanni Bernard misses a little bit of time in the second half with the shoulder. Do they feel like they still have enough weapons to come down here and compete with the Colts with Mohamed Sanu, Brandon Tate, the tight ends, and Jeremy Hill?
Wait a minute. Jim Sorgi, my fantasy football league quarterback from 2007. Really?
Uh-huh.
Yes, the one and the only.
I know. No, I think A.J. Green is out this week for yesterday's game. Jim, he's been playing on one leg for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, Perfect has got squirrels running around in his head. They've lost Lemieux and Luga yesterday, so I mean they're banged up. I mean, I watched Indy the other night. I've seen a couple of their games this year. I think Indy obviously can throw the ball, and I think they can run it. I think this may be a question of can they score enough points to keep up with Indy, which sounds crazy because you got Andy Dalton at the beginning of the year and all these weapons, and now all of a sudden his defense can't get off the field, and his offense he's limited as to what he can do. I think it's going to be a very difficult game for the Bengals to win.
Hey, what's the take in Cincinnati on Andy Dalton? Are people great fans of Andy, or are they kind of concerned about where this kid's going to end up the next couple of years?
It's funny. It's like he's like Marvin Lewis. He's like Mike Brown, the owner. There's a camp that loves him. There's a camp that hates him, and there's very little middle ground. What they've done, and they won't admit it, what they've done is make the offense Andy Dalton-proof because they've surrounded him through the draft and through, a few free agent signings over the last couple of off seasons. They've surrounded him with players that can help him not have to win a football game on his own. And I think the fans are getting hip to that a little bit because everybody wants Peyton Manning. Everybody wants Tom Brady, and there's very few of them out there. So I just sense that he'll never be universally embraced in this town. I just think he's got to not get to the playoffs. He's got to win a playoff game, and then it'll be, well, when can you win a Super Bowl? He's a nice guy. I think he's a very capable quarterback. I would have put him among the elite in the NFL, but I think he's going to win you more games than he's going to lose. He just has stumbled badly when the spotlight has been on him the brightest.
Yeah, and that offensive line did a good job, has done a really good job protecting him all season, did a good job yesterday. But he played well yesterday. Yeah. He had a couple interceptions, a couple touchdowns, but he drove them down for a field goal and then got the ball after Carolina kicked the field goal and drove them back down to the 16-yard line for a chance to win. Now, he looked good yesterday to me, but I agree with you. He's just one of those things where he's got to look that good consistently and win games by himself for people to start really believing in him.
You know, I mentioned facetiously fantasy football, but I think fantasy football has ruined the game on a number of levels because fans think it's all about point production and how many touchdowns you can get me and all that. And I think they view it in kind of a warped sense. I think if you just look at his body of work in real football, I think there are a lot of teams in this league that would like to have him.
Sure, I agree. It's taken the team out of a team game, hasn't it? Fantasy football.
Yeah, everybody thinks the fantasy industry is so huge, but what it's done is it's made everybody a general manager with phony money, and I just think if you extract that from the equation with regards to Dalton, I think there's at least 15 teams that would love to have him.
That's a great point. Yeah. You know who's a huge Andy Dalton fan is the agent for Andrew Luck. Because you look back at the offseason deal Andy got, and Andrew Luck is really going to clean up here in the offseason. Absolutely.
Right.
But you go back to last thing here, Kim, before we cut you loose. Look at the number of quarterbacks that have been in Cincinnati over the years. You know, Carson Palmer, Fitzpatrick, John Kitna, Akili Smith, Jeff Blake, Paul Justin, David Klingler, all these since the days of Boomer Esiason. And over that same span, the Colts have had Peyton Manning, and now Andrew Luck. Yep. How lucky are the Colts as a franchise, you know?
You forgot Gus Frerotte.
Gus Frerotte, there you go, yeah. How could I forget Gus?
But you know what? Look, I like to say here in Cincinnati that, you know, the Bengals, the Steelers are everything the Bengals want to be when they grow up. I mean, that's their big brother. And look at the Steelers. They've had 3 head coaches over the last 48 years. They've had one family owning the team. I mean, it's like anything in this league. Stability breeds success. And if you're stable at your ownership group, you're stable in the front office, you're stable on the sidelines, chances are you're going to have that same core group that's going to stay with you. It may not be Peyton Manning. You may not be there for, your quarterback may not be there for 10, 12 years, but you will replace him with somebody that will be like him because you'll have a system in place that will allow him to succeed. So, yeah, if I'm Andrew Luck, I love what Andy Dalton got because Andy Dalton got elite quarterback money, and he's not an elite quarterback.
Yeah, I think many would agree with you. So who's coming up Sunday for the game?
Who's coming up? You mean like in the fan base?
No, for you guys. Who do we need to help out? Me. Because, you're coming. Good.
Yeah, you've got to help out. You've got to help out John Popovich. John Popovich here in Cincinnati is, I wouldn't even know who to compare him to. He's larger than life. He's the Yoda to so many sports reporters that have come through here and gone on to great places like ESPN in New York and LA. So he's coming up with our photographer, Sergeant Slaughter. Mark Slaughter is coming up.
Sergeant
Slaughter.
Slaughter
will make their magic up there while I stay back at the ranch to try and make sure the station stays on the air.
There you go. Well, let us know how we can help this weekend. Thanks so much. Ken Brew joining us from Cincinnati.
Thanks.
Guys. Thanks, buddy. All right. Looking forward to it. 1 o'clock Sunday, Colts and Bengals. Your thought, Lucas Oil Stadium, your thoughts on the game. Who's going to win when it's all said and done?
For all the reasons I stated earlier, I think the Colts are going to win. I think we're getting the Bengals at the right time. I think they're reeling. They just got trounced by New England a week ago. Yesterday, they lose a game or tie the game in overtime, which does feel like a little kiss in your sister moment. And then they got the injuries. They got the injuries on defense and on offense. They're giving up a ton of points. I think the Colts can take advantage in the air and on the ground. Our defense is playing well. I think they'll get after Andy Dalton. And I like the fact that we're getting it at home. I think that's the game changer right there. We're playing them at home.
Have some lunch.
Yeah, I'm going to get after this.
Again, Palomino, we're going to get after it here as soon as we get off the air. This is the place to be. Every Monday, we begin at 12:30. Horseplay, Week 7. We're back here in a week's time. Great to have Jim Sorgi. Great job. Back with us here on Horseplay. That'll do it for us right now. Again, our continuing coverage of the Colts and the Bengals begins at 5 o'clock on RTV6, the news at 5. For Dave Furst, Jim Sorgi, and everybody here at RTV6, thanks for tuning in. Horseplay, Week 6. Yeah, there it is. Lunch, chicken behind the brick. How about a little paella as well? And do I smell some chopped salad?
Chop, chop.
Oh, chop. Week 6, Palomino.